So, thank you for joining me. For those of you that are here tonight, I am Vismaya Rubin, founder of Living in Gratitude Today, teacher, speaker, and let me just adjust this light. Bear with me, there we go. Teacher, speaker, best-selling author, but you know my favorite role is that of a gratitude gangsta. What? So, thank you for being here for part 2 of our 3-part series on Commit to Recommit. Hey Nadine, good to see you. So it's about committing to recommit. And today we're talking in particular about relationships. Last week we spoke about finding something, one thing that you can do to commit to a goal for your own life, to a personal goal. So as many of you know, my goal and my commitment has been to walk 10,000 steps or more a day. And I am on day 40 something. And there are days that I don't want to do it. But because I made that commitment and because I am like, no matter what, I am going to do it, it's been pretty interesting to see the tenacity, perseverance, and all of those, what is keeping me going to keep that alive. So what did you commit to last week? I know that Carmen was on and she said she was going to exercise. I know Luana was doing her 30 days and it ended on Friday on her birthday. 30 days of walking. So whatever you commit to for the next, you can start a new one today. So if you didn't commit last week, commit this week, no problem. So find something that you can commit to for the next 21 days or the next 14 days while we're in this series, so that you have every day a sense of accomplishment. You get to say, yay, I did it. Yay, this is great. So we're going to have a moment of gratitude, so to speak, a gratitude win or something that you get to celebrate for you. This week, we're talking about relationships. There are, we're starting to open up. The states are starting to open up. Things are starting to shift. People are going back to work. But there are still many people who are working from home. Their offices are not opening up until the middle of August. I have some friends who are working home till the middle of August, middle of September. So people are still home. They're home with their families. They're home with and whatever that looks like, their kids. Maybe they're home with their spouse. And all of this is new for many people. You may be somebody who works, I know Alexa works a lot of times from home and she's on the road, but she also works closely with her husband. So this may not be something that different for you. But there's other people who don't have that working opportunity or that working experience. So how is it that these are the people that we love and adore? So, what is something, the first thing I'm going to share with you is cut people slack. Like, it's easy to pick at everything someone does, but living in quarantine and being in this new normal, as we're calling it, the first thing I'm going to share with you is cut people slack. Don't pick at everything, because the same way you're edgy, the same way I get edgy, your people that you're living with are edgy. And I think it's really important to understand, and I don't live with children, but I was a teacher for 20 years in South Florida. Whatever you're experiencing, your kids are experiencing. So if you're feeling frustrated because you're staying home, or if you're feeling, the extra stress from maybe not working as much as you normally did, or there was cutbacks, your kids are also feeling it. Your kids are not going to school. Your kids are not interacting with people the way they normally did. Your children are not going outside and running around and playing. Hey mama, hi Vanessa, how are you? Are not outside playing the way they used to. So cut people slack and realize that the same way you're feeling whatever is going on, they are as well. So Dan Savage is a relationship journalist. He writes about relationships. He has a column, and one of the most brilliant things that I've heard him say is, what is the price of admission? So think about this. Hey Lindy, how are you? You adore your partner. You adore your spouse. That's why you're with this person. And there are obviously some great qualities, some wonderful things about that person. That's why you're in this relationship. There are some great things about your friends and this is not just about intimate relationships, it's about all of our relationships. Because even in this time, we may not be living with somebody, but we might be communicating a lot with somebody who's like driving us a little crazy. But think about something. What is the price of admission? So you go to Disney World and you know you're going to pay $100 a ticket. I haven't been in a long time, so I'm assuming $100, maybe $150. Whatever it is, you know that's the price you're going to pay. And you know that when you go in there, you're going to expect to see pristine streets. Everybody's smiling because they want to make it a magical experience for you. You know that you're going to expect to wait in long lines for the ride. You know that you're going to maybe overpay for some food and beverages. You know that the light show is going to be off the chain spectacular. You know that when you go on the rides and finally get there, you're in for the time of your life, even if it's for 40 seconds. That's the price of admission, and you're well aware of it when you go to Disney World. Same thing in your relationships. The price of admission, the price of admission is what you fell in love with, why you're in that friendship, why you're in that relationship with that person. So, Dan was talking about his husband, and he was saying, I come home and my husband absolutely knows how to make a ham and cheese sandwich. He takes the bread out, slaps the mayonnaise, slaps the ham, slaps the cheese, knows how to eat it, but he absolutely doesn't know how to clean up. Like, he has no clue. And he says, I used to bitch and moan and scream and shout at him all the time. Like, what is going on? Why can't you put things away? And he realized one day, he says, I'm sacrificing my relationship by constantly screaming and shouting about the same thing. He says, at the end of the day, it takes me 5 seconds to screw the cap on the mayonnaise, put the mustard away, clean off the counter. He says, it maybe takes me 2 minutes. And I have the kitchen looking the way I want it, and I'm not fighting with the person I love. So, and again, I'm not saying to let everything slide, but there are certain things that we can let slide. So when you're in your relationship, when you're talking to somebody you care about, and something is starting to drive you crazy, ask yourself, what is the price of admission? And that is such a powerful, powerful statement and way to look at relationships. Because again, you kind of knew what you were getting into, and there was a reason that you're in this relationship with this person, because you care about them. So what is the price of admission? I was at my brother's house today, and we've really been practicing social distancing, and this is the first time that I was there for this is the first time I've been in their house since quarantine. And I asked my whole family, my brother, my sister-in-law, my 2 nephews, I said, what has been the best part of being quarantined? And my sister-in-law is still working, so she's like, I'm not working, I'm still going to work. But she shared that she's had more family time. So the second part is how to recommit to your relationships is get creative. You may be in the house a lot, but create sacred time. And that's what I heard her say. She says, we created special time where we do things that we might not have done before. They're both in the event industry. My brother's a big time DJ event producer. He does, massive lighting, amazing, huge events, and he's working nighttime, weekends. So he's home now for the first time, I think, ever. So another way to recommit to your relationship is to create sacred time. So have the conversation. What is it that we love to do together? And, for my nephew, the 10-year-old, one of the things that he says that he loves the fact that, they have movie time. So my brother will DJ on Instagram at night, and he's, giving shout outs to the first responders and doing these great lives every night. And sometimes, afterwards, if it's on a weekend, the kids can hang out a little bit later, and they have a movie night as a family. The little 4-year-old, I said, well, what's the best part of having Poppy at home every day? And he was telling me, he's like, I get to spend time and play. So create playtime with your people that you live with. And maybe that's turning the music on and dancing. Maybe that's doing a puzzle. Today I did a puzzle with my nephew. We did the same puzzle, the 4-year-old, 6 times. But this time we said, okay, we're going to time it. Let's see how fast we can go. And then we broke it up again and we did it again. Find ways to interact with each other that is not stressful, that can be just light and fun and silly. But the point is, you have to make that time. You have to put it on the schedule. You have to create it. You have to say, okay, I may be working from home, but it's 7 o'clock tonight. That's it. We're done. We're going to create a sacred space, a sacred time. So, maybe puzzles, exercise together, watch a movie together, do arts and crafts, whatever it is for your family. Figure out something that you can do so that you have these moments of gratitude, these moments that it's a gratitude win at the end of the day, because you know that you did something that made you feel excited, that made you feel good. So I'd love to hear from you. If any of these ideas resonates with you, please put it in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you're hearing, if anything that I'm saying is like, yes, I love it. Keep going. So first thing we talked about is cutting people slack. The second thing is, what is the price of admission? And then the third thing is, get creative. Create sacred space. Create a sacred time together. And, I was thinking about, as I was preparing for this talk, I was going back into some of my notes, and one of the things that I used to teach when I taught high school was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Well, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has the same habits. They're just geared towards adults. One is geared toward teens. And habit 5 is all about, it's the first habit in the relationship arena. And it's all about listening. So Stephen Covey, who wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So, said another way, habit 5 is seek to understand, then be understood. So how does that show up? And I'll tell you, sometimes with my mother, I practice this constantly, because sometimes with my mother, she has a way of pushing my buttons. Now, is it her or is it me? I get to be responsible. So there are certain phrases that she says to me that just, and it will say, I just wanted to tell you. And I know that phrase means, get ready, because I have a list of things that I need you to do for me right now, because what I need you to do matters the most. Now, she doesn't say it like that. She'll say to me, I have something, just one thing. And then she'll tell me her list and say, okay, when are you going to bring it? When are you going to come? And in my mind, I'm already listening, because I'm already knowing that that's coming up. And my interaction with her sometimes after that is like, and that doesn't create a safe space for her, and it doesn't create a safe space for me. It doesn't create a space where I want to pick up the phone every time she calls. It doesn't create a space for her to feel like, wow, my daughter listens to me, my daughter really loves me, my daughter cares about me. It creates a lot of tension. So in these relationships with the people that are around you, before you answer, before you give what you already think they're going to say, or respond how you already think they're going to respond, stop for a second, clear the mind, and really have a conversation. So I'm practicing that when my mother calls me and says, just one more thing, or I got to tell you something, or whatever the phrase is, I'm really consciously practicing not listening to her as if I already know what you're going to say to me. I already know that you're going to tell me, get the list ready. And today that happened right before the call. She called me and it was like, I just got to tell you. And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, don't do it. So I said, okay, what's going on? She's like, I need, another haircut. And I said, what do you mean? You just had a haircut. It's very bushy. I'm like, I'm not arguing. Okay, no problem. And because I wasn't so about to be in her face, she says, I got to tell you something. I said, what happened? And my mom lives in an ALF. And she says, I have to tell you, Fred died. So that was one of her friends there. And what it did was it opened up a space where she felt safe to tell me. And I wasn't judging and coming from a space of very aggressive. I was more in a space of, okay, I'm here to listen. And we had a really beautiful exchange. And it takes practice. Listen, you've been listening the way you listen for a very long time. And dealing with this person that you're interacting with for probably a long time. And it takes some conscious effort to stop responding in that way and respond in a new way by listening first. And that doesn't mean, on the cell phone, typing, texting. It means listening. So let's go back. Cut people slack, price of admission, create sacred time, and listen. Seek first to understand, then be understood. And I think this is really important because it really, when we do that, we open up this space of being compassionate, being sympathetic and empathetic. There are people going through things right now that they have never had to experience. And it may not just be the people sitting in our house. It's our friends. It's the people that we deal with on a regular basis. The people we communicate with. Everybody is dealing with this COVID in a very different way. Be compassionate. I've really practiced not judging, during this time. Like, how do you commit to a relationship when you're constantly judging it? And I've really put myself in somebody else's shoes and practice, okay, what is it that they're experiencing? What is it that they're feeling? How is it that they are having to manage this new normal? So when you're looking at somebody and you're about to attack, and I'm not saying that's, attack like, but in your own way, that's what we do. We put up things, we put up walls, we stop for a second. What is it that person is going through? And can you cut them a little bit of slack? And because I've been able to practice that, they don't know I'm doing it, but I know. And my relationships have shifted. And every time I want to get judgy, I have that voice saying, Vismaya, be compassionate. Put yourself in their shoes. Be compassionate. We don't know what somebody else is going through. Sorry, every time I'm with the lights, I get itchy. It's the weirdest thing. It just happens. So, as we're listening to people, really, put yourself in their shoes. How are they dealing with this? It feels better for us. It feels better for them because they feel like they're being heard. And it feels better for us because we're in a relationship in a different... Our relationship with that person just shifted because we chose to listen differently. We chose to not judge. We chose to hear them because we wanted to know where they were coming from. How powerful is that? When is the last time that you have experienced really being heard? And you know what that feels like. Let's give the gift to somebody else. All right. Again, I apologize for my nose getting all sorts of itchy. Communicate. We've talked about this throughout the time, but really have conversations where, and when I say communicate, yes, communicate with people to understand them, but pick up the phone. Send a text. Send an email. Send a note. I still have an offer. If you have a note that you would like to send somebody, send it to me. I'll put it on a gratitude card and it says, I am grateful for. I'll write that person a little note and I'll send it to them. Communicate. Let people know what it is you love about them. Why that person matters to you. What a difference it makes. How often somebody calls you up out of the blue and says, I was just thinking about you and I decided to make that call to let you know that you matter. And I shared with you, it happened last week for me. One of my students reached out to me and he basically told me that I was the first person who taught him how to think differently than he normally thinks. how to practice gratitude. So that for me was the biggest gift. So think about that. What is it that you love about the people in your life? Reach out, pick up the phone, send a text and say, you know what? I just want you to know I was thinking about you. I don't have time to talk right now, but maybe we can talk in an hour or at 6 o'clock or whatever it is. But the most important thing is to let people know that they matter. And I think that's, another big fat reminder that we've seen because of COVID. There's a couple of really brilliant things that happen. Number one, we're seeing again, which I wish it wasn't this way, how quickly things can change, how fast life can change. And we're also experiencing how much the people that we love matter, because most people are jonesing to give. I know, Lindy, you're a big hugger, are jonesing to give people a squeeze. Even though I was with my family today, I haven't squeezed my nephews, and I'm almost, about to cry when I think about it. How much do we miss that? How much is that missing? And it may be that way for some time. So what's the next thing we can do? What is something that we can do? Call them up and let them know how much you love them, how much they matter to you. Make those connections. My nephew, Jacob, is 10 and he has a cell phone, which in the beginning drove me crazy that he had a cell phone. But what I love about it is that I don't have to call my brother to call my nephew. I can call my nephew or send him a text saying, you know what, baby, just thinking about you. Titi Shell loves you. He calls me Titi Shell. I can have those communications. What a powerful thing just to reach out and and when I say, make those calls, please, please, please tell people why they matter to you. Let them know the difference they made for you. Research shows that when you express gratitude to another human being, the effects are long-lasting, not just for you, but for the other person. Give it a go. So this is something, that I shared with my gratitude community. Before I say that, I want to say this too. As you're picking up the phone or as you're answering the phone to people who sometimes may be draining your energy, you're like, oh my God, I can't do it right now. Remember something. You may be the only person they speak to all day. And I'm not saying carry the weight of the world on your shoulders where everybody who calls you and you're the only... That's not what I'm saying. But you might be the best part of their day. The conversation with you may be the absolute best part of their day. So before you get with their energy, like they're sucking my energy, remember, hey, you know what? I may be the best part of their day. Shifts the conversation a whole lot, doesn't it? Oh my God, this person's energy sucking for, you know what? I'm going to give them a few moments because maybe I'm the best thing that happened to them today. And it's not coming from a place of ego. It's coming from a place, again, of compassion, of empathy, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And here's one that I love. It's from Michelle Galen. She is the wife of Sean Acor, who has one of the biggest TED Talks of all time called Happiness Advantage. And she says, start every conversation with something positive. So how does that look? Hey, how are you, Vismaya? Oh my God, it's raining outside and, I have been stuck in my house for 2 days and I can't go out and the plans I had today for Memorial Day are shot and, I have to put my massage table in the car because I'm going to give my sister-in-law a massage and, all of that. Is that very positive? No. How can I shift it? Wow, it's raining outside and I got to sit and listen to the rain for a few minutes and, I'm going to give my sister-in-law a massage today, so I found ways to pack up my massage table so that I could put it in the car. It's a little more, it's not as convenient as if it wasn't raining, but at least I got to listen to the rain and how beautiful it is that it sweeps away or washes away whatever it washes away. And the grass really needed it. And I'm not saying lie about a situation, but if somebody said to you, what was, good morning, how are you? Wow, you know what? I had the best cup of coffee today. Even if you woke up late, hit every red light in town, say something positive. And that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of training. But the results are profound. The results are amazing because we can shift. Emotions are contagious. Behavior is contagious. And we can shift the way somebody else behaves by the way we behave. And we've seen it done all the time. Go into a big conference room and everybody's shouting, and then all of a sudden the main speaker starts to whisper and speak like this. People start to listen. They stop talking. They listen. They lower their voice. They lean in because they want to hear. Same thing. Our emotions are contagious. So I want to just go through everything we talked about again, wrap it up, because it is, as I'm looking at my clock, it is 8:28. I've been talking, and this has been an amazing conversation, so I hope you've gotten something out of it. So to recommit to a relationship, cut people slack, remember what's the price of admission, create sacred time, seek first to understand, then be understood, communicate. Remember that speaking to you for some people is the best part of their day. And lastly, start every conversation with something positive. So before I sign off, I just wanted to share with you that on Wednesday I have a class called Stuck in the Muck. And it is a 1-hour webinar on Zoom. You do not have to be present to participate, although that would be much... I would love for you to be there. I'm going to record it, and then I will send you the recording. And if you're there, I'll still record it and send you the recording. The idea is that, if you're like me and you have a webinar that you love to hear, you want to hear it over and over again. And just for the Celebrate You community, if you use the code STUCK10, the price of the class drops from $27 to $10, and that even for people on the replay, and that ends tomorrow at midnight. Or 11:59. And the idea is this: some people are still going on that hamster wheel of negativity. They're still going through that space of they don't know how to manage everything that's happening. Because we may have gotten a handle on the fact that we're in quarantine, and now the quarantine is opening up, but there are so many things that have been going on in this past month that have just riled people up and shook people up and created angst and frustration. And the purpose of this webinar is there's 3 main things I hope you get out of it. Number 1, how can I be kind to myself right now, regardless of what's going on up here? Number 2, how can I reframe situations so that I can see the positive and learn the lessons I'm supposed to learn? And number 3, how can I surround myself in a pool of positivity and get off of that negative treadmill? So the link is already up above on this conversation. So please, if it's something that interests you, jump on. It is $10 tonight and tomorrow for anybody listening to live or the replay. And I promise you that you will walk out of there feeling energized, excited, and alive. I am Vismaya Rubin, founder of Living in Gratitude Today, and your favorite gratitude gangsta. What? Thank you so much for being part of this series. We're on part 2. And thank you so much to the Celebrate You community for allowing me this platform to share my message with you. Have a great evening, everybody.